Do you have any mentors that helped you along your career that you want to mention?
When, I, when I saw this question, I had a really interesting time running through that thought exercise because there have been people along the way on both sides of that coin where I have learned so much about how I don't want to be from people. That is an interesting mentor opportunity in and of itself. And I found myself, I think from a really young age, really dialed into observing what I didn't want as much as dreaming about what I did.
Yeah.
As far as, I had a great boss at one of my first roles in the wine business at the wine bar that I mentioned. Same, right? You're observing people for who they are at all times. And there were things that I loved, and there were things that I was like, I would have done that differently, or I would do that differently. And then how do you take that forward? One of the people that does stand out, he was our chief revenue officer in the end, at 750, and he came on board the same year I did as our director of marketing. And he grew to a level of being such a pivotal leader in the organization. And I watched his voracious aptitude for everything that he did. And we worked fairly closely together, considering that we were in completely different departments, even though sales and marketing really is, one ecosystem as it relates to awareness and strategy in the business, expanding the business. But he's who floated me for my leadership role in the organization. And that really meant a lot to me, knowing that someone was at the table and advocating for me on
Yeah.
when I wasn't at the table, right? I'd put in all the work to be the ideal candidate for sure, but it doesn't always go in the direction that you want it to just simply because of that. And so he was a big advocate for me. He absolutely was the person that I got the most out of in
Mm-hmm.
our one-to-one conversations. The ways I learned so much from him. His name is Adam Van Fossen. He works for a company called Health Sherpa now as the VP of growth, and he he continues to be one of the most impressive people I've ever worked with in my career. Yeah.
That says a lot. That's very cool.
Love the way his brain works, brainstorming with him. Like one of the most important things for me as a leader was always to help someone learn how to think about something versus solving a problem for them. And you could just do that with Adam in the way that he presented himself. Like you could learn about how his brain was working in how he was communicating to you. And that was a big takeaway that reinforced one of my key skills that I brought to growing up.
That's interesting. It's pretty common for women of our age not really to have a mentor. Um, Men a lot of times do, especially the older generation, but it's it's not very common.